Enterprise Management 360.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech Chat. Now, on today's episode, I'm very excited to be welcoming back Joe Carson, who is the Chief Security Scientist and Advisory CISO at Thycotic. And last time we had Joe on the show, he shared his guidance on setting meaningful tasks for IT security teams. So, Joe, welcome back to EM360 episode, and thank you for joining me.
Many thanks. It's a pleasure to be here, and really excited to be back on the show again. So looking forward to some interesting news and updates and trends that we have for you.
Exactly. It's good to have you back on because you're going to be sharing the findings of Thycotic's global report, which was investigating what is driving security investment. So I wanted to start by asking, what ambitions do CISOs have in terms of their buying decisions?
And that's a great question. And one of the things that we have found is that this year has definitely been a challenging and change, and it has accelerated a lot of the direction we were going anyway. A lot of companies were moving to this remote working and moving to cloud computing anyway. That's the path we were on. This year, what has done is really dramatically accelerated. They'll probably be bringing forward where many organizations would have been in 5 to 10 years, where they've had to change their strategies and spend to really focus around enabling remote working. Many organizations were kind of moving that way anyway, but what really happened is the acceleration has been astronomical and unprecedented, how fast organizations had to change that stance. So what we've seen is organizations, the CISOs in regards to their buying decisions, it now means that digital transformation to cloud is going to accelerate. That's where we're going to be spending a lot of time, because what cloud computing does bring, it really enables remote workers. That's where it helps. It really helps accelerate, where they don't have to worry about, gaining access into internal networks through VPNs. By digital transformation to cloud, it allows them to really enable that directly through internet connection. So this is where we're seeing the buying decisions is anything that organizations are doing is two things: enabling that remote worker in order to be productive while working from home or working remotely, and at the same time making sure, as they're enabling the remote worker, that they're applying very solid, very strong security practices as well. So this is really it's about effective organizations' ability to empower employees to work remotely, and cloud computing, security, and remote working is the 3 top priorities for CISOs buying decisions.
I think that's a conversation I've been having a lot at the moment in terms of that acceleration that people are wanting to bring in. And it's all very well them wanting to spend their budget on that, but sometimes, as we know, there's obstacles to get in that way. So what kind of obstacles are we're talking about that are holding them back from doing this?
I think there's 2 parts of the obstacles. One is, of course, is the skilled workforce. Is that it does mean that in order to do that quickly and do it well, you do need to have skilled resources to make it happen, because technology isn't just about technology by itself. It actually has the skilled resources behind it that you also need to make it successful. So one of the things that, in order to accelerate that resource skill set and knowledge, that's what's probably going to, be holding organizations back and being able to adopt and be able to get this effectively as quickly as possible. And it has meant that organizations are seeing some struggles. Well, the report and research we did find is that they are getting increased investment. But again, it's that balance between being able to accelerate it. So it does mean that we probably will likely see MSPs and MSSPs being brought in to help that acceleration, where organizations may not be able to get the skills quickly, but they may be able to outsource it through contractors and consultants and service providers to be able to get on track quickly. Another thing that's really holding them back is being able to communicate effectively to the board. Security leaders and CISOs tend to be very technology focused, where the board really talks about basically return on investment, profitability, efficiency, reporting to shareholders and reporting, statistics to their customers. So they really focus at the ROI side of things. And it means that there is that still barrier. We are seeing progression, we are seeing improve, but there still is a bit of a barrier there in regards to the language. So it does mean that the obstacles that CISOs will need to evolve is becoming much more business risk leaders, being able to translate technology challenges into basically business board understandings, so that they can get the support from the board to take the necessary measures in order to help become more efficient, get the right skills in place, and also, accelerate a lot of those digital transformations, including cloud security.
That's interesting to kind of see that shift in how they have to change their language. Before we move on, was there anything else in the report that kind of jumped out or surprised you that you weren't expecting to kind of see?
There was a couple of things that did surprise me. We did a similar research a few years ago. The while CISOs were getting a seat at the table with the board and they were getting that ability to communicate, but we weren't seeing the board following through with investments. So there was that kind of indicator. The positive in this report is that the board is now following through. However, it's still in a reactive approach. There's still basically the fear of being a victim of a cyber attack. It's still the fear of feeling a regulatory audit or a compliance audit. So, compliance and, being a victim is what tends to be accelerating the investments that the boards are following through. So not so much a proactive strategic approach, but very much a tactical approach. So, the positive is that, yes, the boards are investing, but it's still a reactive approach. That's a good thing, is that means that the CISO is now communicating better with the board. They are starting to listen more and they're starting to communicate in the same language. But I still feel that the investments are a little bit in the there's still the reactive side. Another thing that was quite interesting as well was also the mixture between the report between the North American respondents and also the European respondents. Europeans tend to be much more pragmatic in regards to focusing around, best in breed, well-tested, best practices approach, kind of being much more into looking at things that's proven and works. Where in North America, they tended to be a bit more focused around trying the latest new thing. So they were always looking at more the latest and greatest. So rather than thinking about, what's known and works well, let's focus on that. Or the US would tend to be a little bit more on the pioneer side of things, more in the kind of leading edge. Another thing that I found interesting as well was that IT ops had a bigger say in security solution decision-making than the security team themselves. And this also, more research that's just coming through as well, that actually verifies and validates that, is that IT operations are actually getting the final say in what security products are actually deployed. When you look into that and you start uncovering the details, is what it's saying is that ultimately that the security team is really deciding on the requirements, but it's the ops team that had to use it. They are the team that has to maintain it. They're the team that has to deploy it. So ultimately what you find is that it's actually when the evaluation of the test driving of the solutions comes into play, that ultimately it's IT ops team, which are more the hands-on involved. It's the security team is setting the policies, it's setting what you need, it's setting what you must, regulatory meet. But it's ultimately the IT ops team is making that that practical side of things. So that was an interesting approach as well. So it does mean that IT ops and IT security needs to have that really good convergence and good synergy as well. So those were some things that I find quite interesting in the report itself.
Yeah, the unity between those two teams, and as you were mentioning as well, the difference between regions, especially if you've got offices that are spread worldwide, that can be quite difficult when you're trying to balance those approaches. I also wanted to kind of wrap up here with kind of an encompassing thought of what we've been talking about. So you've mentioned a couple of times that obviously CISOs are prioritizing the investments more than ever, which rightly so. Do you reckon that this is going to remain the case post-COVID and continuation from there?
Absolutely. I do see that, one thing I did a few years ago, I did a TEDx talk that was around the future of work. That was around, this convergence of virtual reality and the physical world and augmented reality. And it was really about that in the future. And it was primarily focused around industries that had employees at high risk areas, such as in, mining industry or oil and gas, that you had people that was in these very hazardous areas. And the goal of the talk itself was, the focus around being able people could remotely do those jobs by operating massive mining trucks remotely, by being able to, do a virtual bridge and navigate a ship remotely. So they don't have to be away for long days and weeks and months, and also be away from hazardous areas. What this is really showing is that organizations need to really expand beyond the traditional office. The traditional office will start to degrade, and it will actually move into really looking at this where employees can do the job wherever they are, as long as they have connectivity. And it's great that things like 5G is increasing that possibility. It also means that organizations, as this accelerates, you will have hubs. So there will be hubs where people can meet and do that traditional social interaction, but the traditional office, kind of mortar and bricks is going to start really deteriorating, where you will have these shared locations where people can interact. However, one of the things that is a lot of organizations also think about, and this has been happening in many different industries, probably more so in the tech industry, but it will start to kind of move into other industries, is that it also allows you to get the best talent no matter where they're located, because organizations will be able to turn around and say, well, I'm not looking for a person in San Francisco, California. I'm looking for a person with a skill set, and wherever they are in the world, I can now broaden my HR talent search to finding the right person irrespective of location. So this is one of the things that organizations will find as they move these investments to getting more virtual teams in virtual locations or virtual offices. It will allow organizations to innovate and to adopt, and to make sure that as their investments that they're investing in will basically support that type of environment, where it will be basically a truly, let's say in Estonia, where I'm based, Estonia has become a true digital country, and where basically you can actually do all of the tasks and all of the services the government offers, no matter where you are in the world. You can vote any time of day, any location in the world, using whatever device is available to you. And we're getting to the point where companies will become truly digital as well, that they will be able to allow the staff to do their job anywhere in the world.
Excellent. Yeah, it's interesting to see that approach and how it's going to change going forward. And as you say, the idea of virtual teams where you're building someone based on skills alone is such an exciting concept to see where it can go in the future. Joe, it's been a pleasure as always speaking to you. And if you wouldn't mind, before you go, just letting everyone know where they can find the report and any further information you'd like to share.
Absolutely. So on Thycotic.com, we have a location that's called resources. And under that location, you'll find all of the great reports that we've created. And I definitely recommend it. It's a great read and it's very interesting. And we'll also maybe provide you some also tips and best practices about how to evaluate security solutions much more, where it focuses at the business success and not just a security checkbox.
Yeah, I'll second that. There's a lot of great information that people can take away, so make sure you do go check it out. Joe, thank you for coming on today's episode and talking to us.
Many thanks. It's always a pleasure, and hopefully this will be valuable for the audience, and we'll be in touch again soon.
Exactly. I'm sure we'll do another one. And thank you everyone who took the time to watch this. We do hope you took a lot away from it. We'll be back next week with another episode in our Tech Chat series. In the meantime, you can join the conversations on our socials at EM360 on Twitter and LinkedIn. And for more great daily content, you can always head on over to em360tech.com. Now, just before you go, there are 3 events coming out that you must check out. First, we have Reuters Events is hosting the Customer Service and Experience USA 2020 on the 17th and 18th of November, as they give you the tools and strategies to achieve effortless resolution, drive new extremes of efficiency, and deliver the ultimate customer experience with over 30 leading speakers and sessions, so make sure you register now. Second, we have the Cybersecurity and Data Protection Summit taking place on the 19th of November on their purpose-built virtual event platform, where you'll get an intensive day of outstanding live content and networking, specially curated to deliver an immersive remote delegate experience that will help you improve resilience to cyber threats. And finally, we have the New York 2020 Virtual Cybersecurity Summit, which connects C-suite and senior executives responsible for protecting their company's critical infrastructures with innovative solution providers and renowned information security experts. This event is taking place on November 20th, so make sure you register now.